Well, I'm running into some issues out here in the garden. I was moving some of my trees around and I haven't had the ability to keep everything completely watered over the last couple years because I was in a bad accident back in 2022. So I want to show you guys the issue I'm running into. One of my trees was being taken over by roots. It's going to be really hot today. It was really dry. So in order for me to keep that tree alive through the spring and then into the summer, I almost have to repot it. It's a little late, taking a risk, but the tree's going to be fine. I'll show you what I do when I run into this situation, just in case you have trees in pots that you want to keep alive, that you run into maybe some of the same scenarios. So let's switch camera angles so I can show you my perspective. So how about I just explain to you what I ran into. So as I was moving my trees around, some of them are heavier than others, some of them are drier than others. When I got to my Aconitifolium, I realized it was a really light pot and it had all these weeds in it. So I pulled the weeds out, then I realized the root ball is actually really dry. So before I even go to do anything, I'm gonna soak this root ball for about a good, at least 2 to 3 minutes. So you can see I'm just kind of whipping. I'm not trying to rip any roots, I just want to break them up very gently. That way we have all these roots coming into fresh contact with the new dirt I'm going to be putting into the pot. You go to the bottom, just kind of give it a couple stabs and rips. And that's about what we're looking for. Now that I've gotten those roots teased, we're adding water to the root ball. And really, I think the biggest thing that keeps this successful is making sure you're doing this with wet roots. You start to see dry spots, soak it with water again. That's from my experience what's gonna help keep these trees alive if you have to do emergency repotting right after the tree gets its leaves. Now we're just going to want to fill the pot with the fresh soil that I mixed up, and not fully, we're just going to put some at the bottom for now, and we're going to pick the height that we want in this pot with our tree. So that's going to be our next step. Here we have our fresh soil on the bottom of the pot. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make when putting trees in a pot is not going around the edges. You have to compact the edges of the bottom of the pot before you do anything. It's the first and last step of repotting a tree. I see a lot of people skip. So after you compact the edges, I like to do this, break up the bottom soil, and then I'll take this tree, set it in the pot, and we still have a good 6 inches of space, so I'm going to put another about 3 inches of soil in here. Alright, so we've got our edges compacted, about 3 more inches of soil in the pot. I'm going to kind of dig a little bit of a hole. It's going to make some loose soil on the edges again. Take our tree, pop it in the pot, and to me, that looks just right. So let's fill up the pot. Got our trees put into the new pot. Of course, you got to take a quick coffee break. Cheers. You got to drink your coffee. Still fresh early in the morning. And so what we'll do here now is just start to put fresh soil around the edges of the pot. So I like to go in here with my soil scooper and just start scooping soil into the edges of the pot. And you want to make sure the soil you're using, smell it. If it stinks, it's not good soil. Throw it away. It's anaerobic. Anaerobic is where it quit getting oxygen in the bag that it came from. A lot of the times it will happen to compost. You buy fresh bags of compost and that compost becomes anaerobic in those bags because it's sitting in there too wet. We'll keep stacking fresh soil in here. So here's the deal. You're going to want to make sure you compact the edges again. Make sure your tree is straight. Compact those edges really good. I mean, this step, if you miss, your water the whole season is just going to be running down the edges of your pot, not keeping that root ball moist. So we'll get the edges compacted. Make sure your root flare is nice and exposed right here. Once you get this done, I would typically have some nugget bark to put in here, but I'm just going to top it off with some soil building conditioner right on top. So that's what we'll do next. Mind my neighbor, he's getting some weed whacking done. If you can hear it in the background, I hope my voice is still clear. But now that we've gotten the tree freshly repotted, I would typically move it to a spot where it's gonna be in the shade. But since I want to get it watered right here on camera, I'm gonna move it into the shade here in a little bit after I water it in. And watering in, this is a very critical step. So you want to come in here, make sure that that water's not puddling up or pooling up. It's draining nice and even, and you want to get real good water distribution in this fresh soil that we just put in this pot. So you might hear a lot of people say, oh, it's too late to repot a tree, but there's people planting trees in the ground right now as we speak, all summer long. The biggest important thing is now that I've gotten this thing repotted, I don't let the pot get too saturated and I don't let it get too dry. So the best way to check to see if your tree needs water is after I get it real watered in here over the next week or so. Once the tree is light in the pot again and the soil is light, that's when I'll start to put it on a regular watering schedule. So we're going to oversaturate the root system right now, give it a week, come back, check the weight of the pot, and if it's light, we're watering it again. So